Hey all, this is Eucep again, and today I'm going to look at another 1 to 144th scale Gundam figure. This time is the Gundam Unicorn in Unicorn mode. Yeah, you might notice from the start on he looks a bit strange, a bit much on the panel lining. This is on purpose. Just a pure white version with just minimal panel lining, where there are actual panel line holes. It looked too boring. So instead I went on and exaggerated pretty much every crook and nanny which I could put any type of panel lining into. I did so. And as such, he comes out looking more like he comes straight out of the cartoon. And I think the effect actually comes out quite nice for this figure. As for a kit itself, I think it's quite an excellent build. It's one of the better of the line, despite having a few little issues. Let's go into additional parts, and then I'll go into the kit itself. First of all, parts you don't use. Well, it's only these 3 polycaps and that's it. You get spare hands, because you get 2 fists which are closed to hold the beam sabers. You get 2 fists, one is on him and other have I gotten here, for spread open hands. Just fairly relaxed looking hands. Even on the hands I tried to put in as much of the black panel lining as I could get away with. So yeah, these 3 extra on the Gundam kit itself is the other spread open hand and the trigger finger hand. He does have 2 of these beam saber hands, and the beam sabers are on his back and are on his arms, but I didn't bother to remove the sabers from the sprue. I think them a bit too small and not looking that very nice, to be honest. It's a very light pink, and the overall effect isn't just that good. And just plain beam sabers I'm not the greatest fan of to start with, so I've decided for this one to leave them on the sprue. I think they come out better if I'd get the other version, the destroy mode version, if I'd ever get that one, because frankly put, these beam sabers are more for him than for this mode. So yeah, or perhaps yeah, I have another idea, but that's for another time. You get for the bazooka you get 2 extra parts. First of all, an ammo clip. You can attach to his butt. You can attach it as an extra clip, or instead of what's currently on it and remove what's on it, then add this end piece to represent his folded up form. The bazooka itself is actually a piece former, so I'll show that later on. I'll leave these in hand. Then you have a part, or actually 2 parts, but the other one is already on him, for attaching the shield. The shield itself, at the moment, I've connected to his back using this piece, which you can just remove. Same peg, and to attach it to his arm, use the same peg hole. The shield is made of multiple layers, and you cannot change it. just to be clear, nothing changes. Not even the shield, despite looking like it's made of multiple layers. It's purely one solid piece. So yeah, you can attach it to these holes on his arms. It clips on quite well, and you can then rotate the shield as you need. So this is pretty much the appearance it has. I'm not entirely sure if these two pipes underneath here are these guns or something. They almost look like they are, but yeah, I'm not really sure. Could just be structural support, who knows. But as you can see, it clips on fairly nicely, and if you want to remove it, pull it back a bit and you can easily pull it off. Let's put the shield to the side and this part, and let's look at the Unicorn Gundam itself. Now for the bazooka first, let's pop out trigger finger hand, because it's just easier to leave the trigger finger hand onto the bazooka than to try and remove it. It's just a case of remove the back part, or at least the fingers, and you can remove it. You have an extendable handle to hold it with both hands. Not really needed with the way it's being held anyway. For this assembly, you remove this part, and that's pretty much one whole piece. So this part you put to the side. You take this part which I showed earlier, put it in like that. Then here you have another piece forming part. You have to remove this inner middle part, and that pretty much acts as if it's been shortened up. And then there's a little pack which is very hard to get out. As you might see, a simple pack, the same as on the master grade, and the same peg hole which I could peg on the shield now can hold the bazooka, or if you got the other one, you can hold the gun. Anyway, let's put this one to the side as well. Let's put in another hand. So let's go into the Gundam Unicorn itself. This, by the way, will be a longer video, but you might probably notice by the duration of the movie itself, because I'm going to test out if I can go over the 15-minute mark. Alright. The head has a ball joint in the upper part and a big swivel in the rear part, so he can pretty much look pretty much a bit more up, as if he's flying. That's I think, the main part. For the head, you actually get a visor sticker, but instead I used Gundam Eye green marker, because the stickers you get are, though they are more reflective because the metallic effect, they are very dark, so even with this very shiny bright green, you barely see it. With those darker stickers, you really cannot see those eyes. So this is a slightly better option if you want to go with that. The head can rotate freely, because there isn't really much anything that hampers him. Alright. Shoulders. Shoulders can actually move up. And there is a part in the shoulder, in the upper part, which transforms along. As you can see there. Without the shoulder pad on him, it can move up quite a bit higher, but the shoulder pad collapses into it too much. So it can't really move fully as it can do. The shoulders rotate freely. they can move out about that far, and the shoulder pads themselves can rotate slightly, but yeah, they don't have any movement room. There is rotation in the arms, upper here. As you saw, a slight bit of motion in the lower part, and it can rotate about 90. Not really much. But then again, this mobile suit isn't really known for good articulation. You have the beam saber handles, which are inside these arms. You can't, like in the destroy mode, deploy them for that forward slashing motion. You can't do that. You can remove them so he can hold his beam sabers, so that's at least something. Wrists. They are a case of ball joints, as you saw. You can pull them out somewhat to get a bit more movement range in the wrist. This is especially useful for when trying to wield the bazooka, but you can also press them in to have a bit more tight-fitting look. Alright, let's pull these arms to the side. His waist can rotate fully, but you can also extend him a bit. Yeah, here I popped him off a bit too far, but as you can see, there's a ball joint here, and if you pull him up a bit, you get a bit more movement in him. So you get a bit more of a sideway wiggle than you had before, a bit more of an ab crunch, just by pulling apart his waist some more. Then you can press him in, and once again, like with the wrists, it looks more solid. The hips are on a swivel, and rotation there again. Just a simple case of polycap here. The front skirt, on the sprue it's put together. I've pulled it apart just to give him a bit more freedom of movement. The rear skirt cannot move. For hip movement, he can move forward pretty far due to the skirt. He can move to the back about that far, and to the side actually also quite far. So he can move his legs a bit further apart than actually the master grade can do, as far as I can tell. No upper leg rotation, just more due to the knee joint and the hip that he can rotate somewhat. The knees are a problem. They feel very loose. As you can see, there is actually a joint here for the movement, but it has actually nearly to no use, because with all give and done, this is as far as he can go. It's a bit more than the master grade can do, but this extra joint, what bit more it gives, it's just so little. And pretty much I'd have preferred if they had made this a bit more solid. You can't move beyond this, so it feels a bit more solid, because at the moment it feels very fragile. And you can press it all together and it fits together a bit more, but it easily pulls apart. The ankles, there's a swivel inside, and lower below that there's another ball joint. And once again, you can pull it out a bit more to get a bit more movement range, which is good for the already ability to spread his legs fairly wide. So the ankles look a bit more like they remain standing straight. And then press in and the movement gets limited somewhat more. He can rotate somewhat, but you get all these obstacles, so full rotation isn't possible, which isn't too bad. Move back and forth fairly freely. So all in all, a good Gundam for posing, despite being limited. He feels very solid, so that's absolutely a win for me. In terms of general design, this is one of my favorite Gundam to have. Just overall looks, he is very simple, and I know this one will look a lot better if I could get those decals for him. But yeah, I'm still needing to do the decals for other figures first, before I'm even going to try and get those for this one, because that would be spending extra money, which at the moment I'm not going to do too much. Yeah, I do like the design. I'm not sure if I'm the only one who gets really this, but the way these blue toes are done on this form, it really looks more like he has hooves than actual feet. It's just a feeling they give me. Even though you can see this back part somewhat, but still, the idea they give is something like hooves, which fits with the Unicorn general aesthetics to start with. On the underside you actually get some molded in grey parts. This rear part doesn't move out, really nothing of the destroy mode transformation is put in any shape or form. The backpack you can just take off, it's a simple peg and port, so it can look even more bare, even more wide. And you have two beam saber handles on this backpack. To get them, you actually have to remove these parts and then pull this out. And that's about it. That's, by the way, a minor gripe. These don't actually lock in any shape or form. It's pure friction based that these stay in put. That's it. They are otherwise completely free to move. Oh well. So yeah, backpack can easily be put back on. And yeah, I can highly recommend getting this kit. It looks very cool in my opinion. As you can see the effect of adding the additional panel lining just to exaggerate the looks and break up the complete whiteness of this kit. The whiteness is actually broken up by detail parts which are actually molded in grey, like this lower part here. And actually this grey part here is actually a separate piece you put into the leg itself, which is very, very nice that they actually add that. I believe it's also in the destroy mode, as I've seen from reviews. So all in all, a highly recommendable kit. But we can also display him. For that, I present to you this one. Yes, I got the janky hobby with this little kit in it. It's yeah, meant as a little display stand for the Unicorn Gundam, and you can put it in a stand, and then there is a simple hole in the bottom. Oh yeah, this hip articulation I forgot. There is actually a rotation in here, so you can swivel the hips, but it has some articulation but not really usable articulation. For us, it's just a case of shove it in this, and you have a display base. And in this part you can actually more see why you can move the head a bit more up. It's a bit more for this type of look, and then adding weapons on to him, of course. So all in all, this makes for a nice display piece when all armored up. For a size comparison, a Starscream. So he's about Transformer Deluxe size. And let's bring in one more piece for comparison. Which would be his big brother. Yeah. And that one I am not going to review. Just saying. I got this guy because that guy is way too fragile for my taste. He falls apart. He looks excellent as a display piece, but I'm very loath to even move him an inch. And that's why I'm going to keep it to this guy and perhaps eventually the destroy mode. But as it is now, I'm already really getting way too many of the unicorns. And just to add on, before I forget him as well, and just this is already getting a very long review, the SD Gundam as well. So yeah, I got the entire family here nearly. Perhaps the master grade with the MS cage. Okay, I'm mad, but not that mad. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and this was a very long review. See you all later.